The MCU fan community is great, but recently some fake leakers have been spreading some false rumors about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In this video, I want to separate fact from fiction and call out a certain person within our community for spreading fake news.
It's like the news, but for nerds.
Today's shout out goes to James Payne. Indeed, Captain Cardinal was the Red Stormtrooper before the Sith Troopers came out. We'll do another nerd card question at the end of this video. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday to you. I'm Josh. Welcome back to the den. You made it through another work week. Congratulations. Quickly too, I wanted to plug our Patreon. We recently revamped the Patreon, did it in a 2.0, and we've been having a lot of fun over there. There's exclusive content, and everybody gets a heads up on stuff that is coming in the future. For as little as $1 a month, you can get access to this stuff. It really helps the channel out. So consider going and checking that out. All right, so let's get into this, guys. Like I said, the MCU fan community is awesome. It's honestly a really great example of what a fandom can be like. There's not a lot of toxicity in it. We're all generally pretty happy with most of the stuff we get in the movies and the supplemental material. Overall, it's a great community. However, one of the downsides of the community is actually how popular it is. Strangely enough, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has reached this weird place where it's so popular that people will constantly try to wedge their way into the community and use things like leaks or rumors or fake scoops in order to get a bunch of attention. Now, the leaks in this community are honestly really good. Like, it's really good that people are so interested that we're getting all these leaks, whether or not they're fake or real. And I actually think that fake leaks do play an important part in this fandom because it allows us to have sort of a convoluted idea of what to expect in the next movie. Like, if it was only a few leakers that we could really trust, it would be terrible. Like, we would know everything about every movie. But instead, stuff sort of gets shuffled around, which I think is ultimately good for the fandom. But right now we're in this really interesting place where the anticipation of what is going to happen next, MCU Phase 4, everything coming, the anticipation is so hyped that people are looking for any and everything when it comes to that information. And there's a few people really taking advantage of this fever pitch of hype and just the anticipation of what comes next. They're taking advantage of this time period right now. And very recently, I've seen one person pop up on Twitter that just has been spreading a ton of stuff that I think is just really fake. So I want to sort of call this person out, call this account out, and then sort of explain why people do this and why do they use Twitter and what should we do as people who are curious about what's really happening in the MCU. So I think one of the reasons people use Twitter to leak this kind of information is because they can remain anonymous and they don't have to go through checks and balances. You see, on Reddit, if you go to a subreddit to try to leak something, often a lot of the moderators will reach out to you privately and try to get you to show that you actually have some of the connections you claim to have. And they can sort of verify leaks a little bit better that way. But on Twitter, there's nothing like that. Like, it's the Wild West. You can essentially just create an account, say you work for Marvel, and start spilling all of this stuff. And if some of it starts to ring true, people will give you more credibility, and then you get bigger platform. I think a lot of people are doing this right now, but in particular, this guy right here, at Defiant Inside Me, and I think he goes by The Defiant Inside Me, but it's at Defiant Inside Me, is this guy who's been leaking a bunch of stuff that I think is total bullcrap. And for the record, I do think there are legitimate people like this on Twitter. Like, Roger Wardell is one example of someone who seems to actually have information when it comes to the MCU. He tweets stuff, it's an anonymous account. But then again, there are fake Roger Wardell Twitter accounts and there are fake Roger Wardell accounts on Reddit that claim to be him that spread fake stuff too. So it gets really confusing. But there are legitimate people on Twitter that are these Twitter personalities like Daniel PKR and Roger Wardell. But this Defiant Inside Me guy, no, totally false. Now let's go through this big Twitter thread that got this guy essentially really popular. He posted this on July 4th, talking about stuff that would happen at D23 in the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's go through this thread and I can just kind of explain to you why this is a bunch of crap. Okay, so it starts out, attention, new leaked info about the future of Marvel Studios. The following content may or may not be disclosed during D23 Expo. Follow this thread, stay tuned, considering the following content as rumor. Okay, so the first post on here says Hugh Jackman and Matt Smith are competing for Nightmare's role in the sequel to Doctor Strange. Nightmare is expected to be the Doctor Strange antagonist, the sequel's antagonist. All right, so this is a long-standing rumor. This actually has a root in an actual interview where Scott Derrickson was asked about the villains that he'd be interested in and doing a movie for Doctor Strange 2. Like, what would he be interested in for doing the sequel? And if I'm remembering correctly, like, the way he answered this in the interview was just like, yeah, Nightmare would be really cool. And that's pretty much it. Like, he didn't really like say like, oh, I had this huge plot for Nightmare. This is how I wanted it to go down. This is definitely what we're gonna do in the second one. No, he just merely mentions Nightmare as a cool Doctor Strange villain and that would be a cool thing to play around with as a director. And then that got extrapolated into Nightmare being a rumored villain for the next film, and there's really no truth to that. But that rumor has been around for a long time. As far as Hugh Jackman and Matt Smith go, I mean, this dude just fan casted or looked at what other people were fan casting, put it together on an image, and yeah. The next part of the thread says the official film cast of the Eternals will be announced on D23 along with the Black Widow movie. Black Widow may debut in the middle of 2020. The Eternals could debut in late 2020 or early 2022. All right, first of all, this post makes no sense, but basically he's just taking the two movies that we are pretty sure are coming out next year, which is the Eternals and the Black Widow movie, and just extrapolating some information off of that. Next thread, he says Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves, Salma Hayek, and Charlie Hunnam can join the Eternals cast. Angelina Jolie and Richard Madden are already official. And once again, this is stuff that's been rumored for a while. Like, we've just been sort of hearing rumblings of these sort of things. It's hard to parse out whether it's like fan casting or whether there's actual talks going on with these people. It's kind of hard to say. There could be some truth to this, but until they're officially brought on, we don't know for sure. But again, this guy's just taking leaks that are older, things that have been popping around, and just putting them together in a single mega thread to make them seem really credible. All right, next he says Marvel is preparing Namor's entry into the MCU, and the biggest reference to the character will be in the Eternals. Namor is a character that's been rumored for a while. I believe Feige recently talked about Namor at an AMA. Could be wrong about that, but I know that we've been talking about Namor for some time. Because of the Fox deal, I don't think they had full access to this character, but now they likely do because they have the Fantastic Four back. Now, they've actually hinted at Namor before in the MCU already. There are some maps in one of the Iron Man movies where you can see that there's this hub sort of off the coast of Europe. A lot of people think this is Atlantis. And by the way, there was also a hub where either Tony Stark or S.H.I.E.L.D. knew about Wakanda. But once again, an old rumor sort of being recycled and repackaged. Next, he says Black Knight will be the villain of the Black Panther sequel. And then he lists this dude who he thinks is going to be in talks to be the villain. Now, we have been hearing a lot about Black Knight. This is something that's been sort of circulating around with some pretty credible leakers and, you know, just insiders from Marvel. A lot of us thought Black Knight could have even shown up in Avengers Endgame. Didn't end up happening. You know, it could make sense that he could be the villain in Black Panther 2, but I don't know, there's not really a lot to suggest that, and I think Ryan Coogler has just started working on that. It could be true that the villain's sort of mandated by Marvel, that Marvel's like, hey, Ryan, here you go, but the villain's gotta be Black Knight. Work it however you want, but we want Black Knight as the villain. Could be possible, but I don't know. Doesn't really seem like the new Feige. New Feige tends to just let these writers do their thing. He next says that Storm can make his first MCU appearance on Black Panther 2, and he lists some predominant actresses that could play Storm. Now, this is something we've actually talked about on this channel before. I mean, it just makes sense to bring Storm into the Black Panther series. She's African. She has a relationship with Black Panther in the comics. It's really interesting how like the king of Wakanda and sort of this goddess of Africa, you know, they're sort of a power couple. It's really interesting dynamic. So fans have been speculating about that just because it's in the comics. We have literally never heard anything official from Marvel. This is just fan speculation at best. Okay, next he talks about how Jessica Drew or Spider-Woman could appear in Tom Holland's third Spider-Man movie. I mean, like, sure, I guess, but we have no idea. It's like when we broke that rumor about how Daredevil could end up in the third Spider-Man movie, except we labeled that as a rumor and talked about where the rumor came from, and then we speculated on why we thought it made sense to us. This guy's also telling people to take this as a rumor, but his entire thread is this: I'm a leaker, I have inside information, here's what I know now, but I'll share more later. So it's misleading. He talks about how Adam Warlock will be the antagonist of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He talks about how there are Easter eggs in Spider-Man Far From Home that prove that the Fantastic Four movie is being developed. And then at the end he says, for now, that's all the information I have. Once I have access to others, I will continue this thread. All right, so by now you guys you understand where I'm coming from. Like, this guy, you know, he's just one of these people that comes out there and starts taking other rumors and stuff, putting it together and packaging it and claiming to be an insider. Like, dude's not an insider. He's just some dude on Twitter who can aggregate information and present it to you in an exciting way. Except that it's not exciting. This guy's terrible. So as I said, guys, hype is really good. Like, I'm so pumped that the Marvel community is at this place. Like, it's actually a good thing. Like, this is a problem, but it's a problem that is an indicator of something that's really good about this fandom. And I love this fandom, and I'm very excited to see what's announced next week for Marvel at San Diego Comic-Con. We're gonna break all that stuff down, but I just wanted to do this video to talk about a lot of stuff that is being extrapolated from this sort of fake news rumor stuff. I would just suggest picking the places you get your content from carefully and just being critical, using critical thinking about what's being said. How close is this to like actual fact? I mean, you know, take everything with a grain of salt, of course, but if you want like an accurate sort of temperature of where this stuff is at, keep watching this channel. We're like the best in the game. And I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even kidding. All right, let's check the nerd card before we get out of here. I want to know how close you're paying attention to the rumors. What Marvel Cinematic movie is Millie Bobby Brown rumored to be cast in? Although apparently that got shut down, but it could still happen. I don't know. But the question remains, what movie is Millie Bobby Brown rumored to be a part of in the MCU? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.